I want to talk to you a little bit about the Georgetown Law Supplements. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery. I am the CEO of Montgomery Admissions Consulting, and I specialize in working with first-generation and minority law school applicants. I feel like everyone really struggles with choosing a Georgetown Law Supplement and then figuring out, okay, what do I write about? What do you even want to convey to Georgetown in your supplements? That's really the question. There are so many options for you, and I'm going to go through those options in a second. And there really is no right and wrong choice on which kind of prompts you choose or what you choose to convey, but you want to make sure that it fits neatly into your application. Again, with the puzzle analogy, it's not just that you're giving different pieces to the puzzle in your application, but the pieces of your puzzle should fit together. So your Georgetown Law supplemental essay should fit in together with the materials that you have otherwise in your applications. We are going to cover what those Georgetown Law supplemental prompts are, how to approach them, and what to avoid. We're also going to talk about the 1-minute video, which very few people choose to do, and I get it and I understand why, but it has the opportunity to be such a wonderful, fun exercise if you enjoy video editing and that kind of audiovisual creative side. This is the prompt for the Georgetown Law essays. The optional response is another way for the admissions committee to get to know you. If you wish, we encourage you to submit a 250-word statement for any of the following questions. 1. What is something important that you have changed your mind about? 2. What unpopular opinion do you have and why? 3. Tell us about a time in the last 5 years when you stood up for yourself. 4. Share a top 10 list with us. 5. Prepare a 1-minute video that says something about you. Upload it to an easily accessible website and provide us the URL. If you are using YouTube, we strongly suggest that you make your video unlisted so it will not appear in any of YouTube's public spaces. What you do or say is entirely up to you. Please note that we are unable to watch videos that come in any other form other than a URL link. Do not send them this whole file. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. How do you even begin to think about 1, what prompt to choose, and then what to brainstorm? So as I have said, I really do believe in the importance of doing a master brainstorm when you start the essay process before you choose what your personal statement and your diversity statement is. Because, especially for a school like Georgetown, where the supplemental essay prompts are so personal in nature, if you have done this right, if you've done a very broad, very deep, very introspective brainstorm of all the significant moments in your life, both personal and professional, accomplishments and setbacks, impacts, moments that showcase who you are, moments of vulnerability, moments of pride. If you've really done a great brainstorm of that, and then you've chosen the stories for your personal statement and chosen the stories for your diversity statement, you actually should still have personal stories left that you love, but maybe just didn't really fit into your narrative thread for why you want to go to law school, or didn't really fit into, kind of what you wanted to talk about in a 1-page diversity statement. You should still have personal stories left for your Georgetown Law supplement. So you can go and just choose, okay, hey, these are the 3 topics that I still really liked. Maybe it was about figure skating, or maybe it was about horseback riding, or maybe it was, a time when you really helped out a family member, or maybe you wrote a book, or you launched that business. Whatever it is that maybe just didn't fit anywhere else, hey, now it's a time that I can go back, look at my stories that I have brainstormed, and choose which one would be great for, one of these prompts. And that's also an easy way to choose a prompt, by figuring out what are the stories that I have left. Do any of those stories fit any of these prompts? Super great matching exercise. if you haven't done that big brainstorm, if you've already written your personal statement, you've already written your diversity statement, and you're starting from scratch, then you want to start looking at the prompts first. And you want to say, okay, which of these prompts really speak to me? There really isn't a right or wrong answer, but you want to make sure that you are being introspective. Georgetown really does like essays that show who you are more. They're trying to get to know you on a deeper, more personal level. You want to make sure that you are honoring that and, not just skipping and skimming the surface of kind of who you are. Now, deep and introspective and personal does not mean traumatic. I swear, when I say deep and introspective, people just hear traumatic. Deep and introspective can be beautiful. You have something beautiful inside of you as well, right? And so it can be this amazing moment when you really helped out a family member. I had the wonderful, just privilege of surprising my mom this week with a new computer. It was great. I brought her into Staples. She had no idea. She thought we were there to fix her computer. I had her bring it under some pretense. And the look on her face when I got to, have the Staple guy whip out the new computer was awesome. And I feel so honored and blessed to have been able to have that moment, right? That's a positive moment. That's a deeply introspective moment, right? Because I can talk about my values and why generosity is at the core of who I am and why family is so important to me and connectiveness and all the things that my mom has done for me. Really, how she's been such a staunch supporter of who I am. My dad was in the military and he deployed a lot when I was a kid. And so a lot of times it was just my mom and I while my dad was deployed. And we really bonded in those moments. So much of who I am right now is because of her. And so to be able to give back to her in that way doesn't even scratch the surface, really. But it made me, really happy that I was able to do that. Right. So I just shared this story with you guys as an example of how something that is introspective and personal doesn't necessarily have to be traumatic and negative. It can be really positive and happy and show who you are and your character. And maybe, that's something that could go in a supplement. Now, granted, it would not have fit in any of the prompts that Georgetown has right now, unless I took a video. Right? If I had that whole thing recorded, I could have maybe sent it over to Georgetown with a little bit of an intro or a little bit of an outro, right? If I was applying to Georgetown and really thinking that ahead. And that would have been totally fine, right? When we talk about the video, which we will, it can be on any topic, any moment. It doesn't have to be, you just being a talking head, and I don't recommend it, but it can cover a large area of your life. It could really be a wide breadth of who you are, or it could just be a moment that really showcases who you are. Now, if you're looking at these prompts, and like I said, you're trying to figure out which one speaks to you the most, I would suggest writing down about 3 topics for each of these, and then really looking at, okay, are there certain topics that speak to me? A lot of students choose to do the top 10 list, which is totally fine. And some students just give a list, and some students give a little explanation and then the list. Some students explain each of those 10 in that list. It's about 25 words per 10. And sometimes they connect to each other. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're very broad. And sometimes they're very narrow, right? Like top 10 songs from my favorite artist, or, top 10 moments in the last year that really pushed me, right? Either one of those are fantastic essays. This is, as I've said before in other videos, it's really about how you write it and not necessarily what you write. But there are some things that I have seen students falter on. I think especially with what unpopular opinion do you have and why, or even what is something important that you have changed your mind about. Those are 2-part questions, and oftentimes I see students only answering one of them. So what is something that you have changed your mind about? It's not just what is an opinion that you have that developed over time, which is often what students give me. But it is asking, what have you changed your mind about? So we're looking for a moment of tension. We're looking for a moment of, I was thinking this way, and now I think that way. I used to hate cheese, and now I love cheese. True story. Probably not what I would write my essay about, but I don't know, maybe it was actually a really big part of my life. I just really, really didn't like cheese, and I just never, engaged. And then in senior year of college, I realized that there are a lot of wine and cheese nights, and that, also people just put cheese on things even when you ask for no cheese. And I went on a mission, and I started eating different cheeses intentionally to change my taste buds, because I learned that it takes 30 days to change your taste buds. And I was just on a mission to like cheese so that I could feel like a normal part of American society. And now I eat cheese, right? Okay, probably not the most compelling thing in the world, but hey, my mind changed. Or an unpopular opinion do you have, and why is that Americans should eat less cheese, because actually a lot of the world is lactose intolerant, and it's just such a staple in our diets for no reason. That's probably super unpopular. Why do I have this? Because I was one of those Americans who suffered from people putting cheese on things that I didn't want them to. I'm being completely facetious here, but you have to understand that what I'm trying to get at is that you need both parts, right? Both of those questions are surrounding attention. They're surrounding a moment where they want to see conflict and resolution internally, right? They're trying to think about whether or not you're malleable, because when you think about law school, you will have unpopular opinions. When we talk about the Socratic method, we talk about the reasonable standardness of the law. When we talk about criminal law, and we talk about fair procedures, not everyone's going to agree. But it is both important that you can stand your ground in your unpopular belief and be able to express it clearly, that you can be the sole dissenting judge in a panel of 9 judges. And the dissent can be written in such a beautiful way that the dissent becomes canonical in legal jurisprudence. And it's also important that you can be open-minded, and that you can listen to the well-reasoned arguments of your classmates, and you can have your mind changed and opened. Those are both important things. There will be times that you need to stand your ground as a lawyer, and there will be times that you need to realize and recognize that while you may have previously held an opinion, new facts, new arguments, new perspectives have caused you to shift, because they don't want people to come into law school who are so headstrong in their ways that they will never listen and learn from their classmates. But they also don't want people to come in who have no core and who go with the wind and aren't able to stand their ground. So those are kind of the reasons behind those questions, why those are important things as a lawyer. In your answer, it doesn't have to be a super serious thing, right? It could be about cheese, but your answer should show your open-mindedness for that first question, and your ability to stand your ground with reasons and careful consideration of the other side. It's not just I'm standing my ground because I'm right, but it could be I'm standing my ground and I see the other opinions and they're valid. But this is why, even after considering, appreciating, and acknowledging the validity of the dissenting opinions, I'm still going to keep my opinion. Kind of going off that same theme, tell us about a time in the last 5 years when you stood up for yourself. It doesn't have to be a big moment. It can be, right? But it can also be a moment where you worked on your own boundaries. I am a person who really struggles to say no. I think that kind of goes with my generous personality. I love saying yes, but I also just like it when people like me. I'm just going to be really honest with you. I have had to work on my people-pleasing tendencies over the years. And so for me, a time when I stood up for myself might not seem that important to you. It might be a time when I told someone from my church I wasn't going to do something. And maybe the first time I told someone from my church I wasn't going to do something, maybe that was a big moment for me. And someone else would have just been like, nah, I'm good. And that wouldn't have really been a moment that they stood up for themselves, but for me, that might have been a really big moment. So maybe you have a moment like that in your life, or maybe you have a big moment, right? You had to stand up against being falsely accused, or to your parents, or to an abuser, right? Both of those can be incredibly beautiful and compelling essays. We've discussed how the top 10 list can be both broad and cover a large area of your life, or small and be just a moment. And when we kind of get to the video, I would say that video editing is kind of key here. Not that they're looking for you to be this excellent videographer, that's not what I'm saying, but it's only a minute. And I think if you were to just put the camera on and talk for a minute, it probably won't be the most compelling. But the best videos that I have seen include footage from somewhere else or kind of a voiceover, right? So you're kind of showing through pictures and footage and talking over it, and then you're kind of getting to show more of your life, or you're showing a snippet from a performance or any other kind of prepackaged video footage. Maybe you're not editing it, but you have your explanation at the beginning and the end, and then like a little bit of a video. It's only 1 minute. So you need to be thinking very clearly about what you want. I did a lot of video editing in middle school and high school. I was in a magnet communications program for that, and so we would always do something called storyboarding. And if you've never really done videography, this might be a foreign concept, but storyboarding is kind of like outlining, but for video, where you're taking, okay, what's the first scene? What's the second scene? What's the third scene? How is my video coming together? And that planning is really crucial for that video. So those are the Georgetown Law prompts, kind of how to approach them, things that you want to avoid within each of them. You want to make sure that you're being introspective. You do not want to just not showcase who you are. You do not just want to use it as another opportunity to talk about what you talked about in your personal statement or your diversity statement. But if done right, the Georgetown supplemental essays can be some of the most beautiful parts of your application. I've already had a few students this cycle get into Georgetown. None of them have done a video. In fact, most of my students don't do a video because it's just like a specific type of student that really wants to or has the time, the bandwidth, the energy to think about it. So you absolutely can get into Georgetown without doing the video. If it speaks to you, if it's calling you, like Moana, right? If it's calling you, then do the video. But if it's calling you, you probably are also excited about even exploring some of these free software apps. And if it's not calling you, then write a 250-word essay or do a top 10 list. There's a lot of different ways, right? But you want to make sure that your application, no matter what you do, is authentic to who you are, and that's what the most important thing is, and that's all that they're looking for, really. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for just your dedication and your support. If you liked this video, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe, rate and review the podcast, share it with a friend. We are going to keep going, with the rest of the application cycle. We're wrapping up our applications hopefully by the end of the year or in January. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. We've also put the links to our blog posts on the Yale 250 and the Georgetown Law Supplements below. We also have a ton of blogs on our website about different essays and different scholarships. So definitely make sure that you're checking that out. I will talk to you guys very soon.